بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين بائس الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الأفضل الموجودات العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيء ذنوبنا صاحب الوقار والسكينة المدفون بأرض المدينة أبي القاسم المحمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعنة الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقد قال سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات وعجل فرجهم. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts all of our tears that we have shed for Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam from the 1st of Muharram until now, and all of the azadari that we have done so far for Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bihaqqi Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam give shifa to all those names that were just viewed on the screen. Anyone who's unwell in the community, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them shifa bihaqqi Mariz Karbala Imam Sayyid Sajadin Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam. Recite salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Just a few words from the life of Imam Sajjad when he returns to Madina. As you know, when Imam Sajjad returns to Madina, he lives more than 30 years. And that time that he spent post Karbala, after Karbala ke baad, when the Imam returns back to Madina, is a crucial time. Why? Because Imam alayhi salatu wasalam after Karbala did not actively take part in any uprising against Yazid or Banu Umayyah, for that fact. Though there were many uprisings, many people rose up against Banu Umayyah. For example, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam's own son, Zayd ibn Ali, Zayd al-Shahid. Zayd was from the wife of the Imam who was from Sindh, which is in Pakistan today. And so Zayd rose up against the tyrant Khalifa of Bani Umayyah, and Zayd was killed. After Zayd, Zayd's son, Yahya ibn Zayd, he also rose up. And again, he was also killed. They were killed. Not only were they killed, their bodies were hanged at the door of the city for many years, and then later they were burnt. And so there were many uprisings. Mukhtar al-Thaqafi rose up to take revenge for what happened in Karbala. And so there were many uprisings. But the Imam ﷺ, Imam Sajjad, actively, openly did not take part in any of these uprisings. Even though Mukhtar had the support of the Imam, Mukhtar had the dua of the Imam. And we have many traditions that Imam Sajjad, after him Imam al-Baqir, made dua for Mukhtar. And Imam Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam would respect whenever he would see the son of Mukhtar, Abu Ishaq. And he would make dua for him, and whenever he would see him, he would make dua for his father Mukhtar. But the reality is that the Imam could not, because of what happened to Karbala. Had he come out and made an open announcement that I'm rising up against the tyrants of Bani Umayyah, they would have killed the Imam. And they would have killed Imam Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam as well. So what does the Imam do? The Imam changes his strategy. What does the Imam do? How Imam, if you look, Imam Amirul Mu'mineen, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Imam alayhi salam gave khutbah when Khilafat was taken from Ali ibn Abi Talib. What did Ali ibn Abi Talib do? He didn't take the sword. He says, no. Rasulullah says, sabr. Oh Ali, have patience. When they do take from you the Khilafah, you should have patience. What did Imam Ali alayhi salam do? He gave khutbah. And in khutbah, he spoke about his right. He spoke about that his right has been taken illegally, unjustly, especially khutbah number 3 in Nahjul Balagha, khutbah to Shaqiyya, khutbah number 3, in which he criticizes the 3 for taking the khilafah of him. So, Imam Sajjad could not give khutbah. If Imam Sajjad was to give a sermon, it would alert the authorities, and they would either imprison him again or they would kill him. What does the Imam do? Dua. Sahifa Sajjadiyya. That's where Sahifa Sajjadiyya comes from. That time that the Imam spent after Karbala, he makes dua, but do not be deceived when you say, okay, it was just a dua. No. One of the ulama puts it beautifully. He says, what Imam Ali alayhi salam did with his khutbahs, Imam Sajjad did with his du'as. What Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib did with his khutbahs. What did Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib do? He spoke against the zalimeen. He spoke against those who had taken the right. Imam Sajjad does the same thing. In the du'as, if you look at the Sahifa Sajjadiyya, what is Sahifa Sajjadiyya? It is a compilation of the du'as of Imam Sajjad. Imam Sajjad की दुआओं का मजमुआ है सहीफ़ा सज्जादिया. All of the du'as, कोई भी दुआ हो आपको इस किताब में मिल जाएगी. Dua for the walidain, dua for the ill, dua for worries, dua for rizq halal, dua for disease, dua for pandemic. You will find everything in there. And within these du'as, Imam has taught what? To speak out against the zalimeen, to oppress the mazlumeen, to support the mazlumeen, to stand up against the zalimeen. At the same time, the Imam has taught in the du'as tawalla and tabarra. Imam की दुआएं तवल्ला और तवर्रा से खाली नहीं है. कोई ऐसी दुआ नहीं कि जो दुरूद के बगैर शुरू हो जाए. कोई ऐसी दुआ नहीं है. Every dua, how does the Imam begin? Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala ahl bayt an-nabuwah. Every dua begins with salutations on Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, which is tawalla. And in those du'as where he criticizes the zalimeen, especially some of the munafiqeen which were around the Prophet, that is tabarra. So Imam alayhi salam did not sit still. It is not allowed for the hadi. If he is an imam, it is not allowed for him to sit at home under any circumstances. The hadi must guide. The guide must continuously guide. If at any moment the guide stops guiding, he is no longer a guide. हादी हर हालत में हिदायत करेगा, किसी भी हालत में हो, चाहे कैदी हो, चाहे करबला में हो. Look at Imam Sajjad. किस हालत में मेरा मौला इमाम बना है. Look at Imam Sajjad. The most difficult time any imam became imam. Imam is born an imam, but he became actively an imam after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. The most difficult time was Imam Sajjad, Sham Ghariban, Asr Ashur. When Imam Hussein has been martyred, Imam Sajjad now takes over the office of caliphate, imamat. The most difficult time. Imam Sajjad is chained up. Imam Hussein has been slaughtered in Karbala. Abbas has lost his arms. The women are surrounded by the soldiers of Bani Umayyah. In this difficult time, the Imam ﷺ takes office. You know how difficult? Not only that, when he returns to Madina, when the people of Madina, Ahlul Madina, they find out that, Yazid is alcoholic. He drinks alcohol. He doesn't pray. He makes fun of prayer. Awara hai, sharabi hai, kawabi hai. Farzand Rasul ka qatil hai Yazid. What do the people of Madina say? We don't give him allegiance. अपनी बैत को हम तोड़ते हैं. We don't give him any more bayat. We don't give him allegiance. Yazid finds out. He sends an army. You all know, he sends an army under Muslim ibn Uqba. सबसे बदतरीन खबीस Muslim ibn Uqba. He says, go and beat them until they give me allegiance. If they don't give me allegiance, force them. If they still don't give it, kill them. He says 3 days you do what you want in Madina. 3 दिन के लिए मदीना मुबाह है, जो जी में आए करो. For 3 days they ransacked Madina. They plundered, they looted, they killed. कितने सहाबा कत्ल किए यजीद ने. जो सहाबा का कातिल है उसके बारे में बाज लोग कहते हैं रजी अल्लाह है, कातिल सहाबा. 10,000 Muslims were killed of Medina, out of which 700 were huffaz of Quran, हाफिजान कुरान. कुरान के हाफिज 700, यानी 700 of them. Many of them were companions of the Prophet. Many of them had seen the Prophet. Women were abducted, women were taken captives, women were abused. The tradition states the year after, 1,000 illegitimate babies were born because of what the army of Yazid did. They tied their horses in the mosque of the Prophet. That mosque, that sacred mosque of the Prophet, they tied their horses in there. Leave the horses in there, and the horses made the place dirty. This is Khalifatul Muslimin. But you know what Yazid, what's interesting is this. Yazid says, beat them. By any means necessary, you get them to give me bay'at, allegiance. However, don't touch Zainul Abidin. Leave Zainul Abidin alone. He knew. He says, we've messed already with this family. We've tried his father Hussein. He gave his head, but he didn't give his hand in the hand of the tyrant. He says, this is Farzand Hussein. ये अली ibn Hussein है. ये भी अपनी बाबा की तरह शहीद तो हो जाएंगे लेकिन कभी मेरी बैत नहीं करेंगे. He says, what does he say? He says, leave Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam alone. Leave Zainul Abidin. Anyone else but Ali ibn Hussein. And so if you look at the lives of the Ma'sumin, the Imams, no Imam was tested like the other Imam. Imam Ali had his own test. 25 years, Imam Ali was patient. Imam Hasan Mushtaba next. He had his own test. He had to do a peace treaty. Imam Hussein after him was martyred in Karbala. So how from each Imam it changes. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, he says, okay, we asked Imam Hussein for bay'at, now we don't ask him for bay'at. How it changes. After Zainul Abidin was Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Sadiq at a time they were Bani Umayyah, Bani Abbas were busy with their own conflict. They said, leave them. And so they had the chance to propagate the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Musa al-Kazim comes, he's put in prison. The amount of time Imam Musa al-Kazim spent in prison, no Imam spent in prison. And then Imam Rada comes. Look how it changes. They make him the heir to the throne. Mamun ne apna jannashin bana diya. Yani kaise, how they change their tricks. किस तरह मुख्तलिफ मंसूबों से इमामत पे हमला किया गया है. And even though that was politics, making the Imam the prince was politics. It was to keep the Shias quiet. शियों को खामोश रखने के लिए, ताकि शिया जो है कोई बगावत ना करे, मेरे खिलाफ कोई इनकलाब ना आ जाए, मेरी हुकूमत को, मेरे तख्त ताज को खतरा ना हो. They said, let's keep Imam Raza close to us, so the Shias of Khorasan, the Shias of Iraq, the Shias of Basra and Qom, they will keep quiet. And so it changed until the 12th Imam. You know why? Because they realized each time they failed and Ahlul Bayt won. Each time they realized that we failed. We've tried every trick there is in the book, but we failed. And so he says, leave Zainul Abidin. We've already tried the question of the bay'at. बैत का मुतालबा करके हमने देख लिया है. अब इमाम सज्जाद से कोई बैत का मुतालबा ना करे. And so, despite that, this is how difficult the time was. This Imam has seen Karbala. And after seeing Karbala, now he sees the sack of Madina, Waqi Harra. How does the Imam change approach? ibadat, du'as, namaz. They say, by God, we have never seen anyone who does as much sajda as Sayyid Sajjad. We have never seen anyone who prays like Zainul Abidin. Hence, Imam Sajjad, Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein, is Sayyidul Sajjad. In other words, his sajdas was so prolonged that they say there is no one who does sajda like him. So they used to call him Sayyidul Sajidin. Then when he would pray, when he would make wudu, he would tremble. He would have a fear. He would become pale. And they used to say to him, "Oh Mawla, why do you tremble? Why do you fear when you make wudu?" He says, "Do you not know that I am about to stand in front of my Lord? क्या तुम नहीं जानते मैं किसकी बारगाह में जा रहा हूं? मैं किसकी इबादत करने वाला हूं?" And so they said, okay, this is Zainul Abidin. Now, the hadith says on the day of judgment, when all of Ahlul Mahshar will be gathered, a call will be heard. Marhum Ayatullah Muhammad Rashahri, in his kitab, Mizanul Hikmah, he has recorded this hadith from other sources. He says, the call will be heard, Aina Zainul Abidin. Ibadat guzaron ki zinat kahan hai? Aina Zainul Abidin. And at that moment, the hadith says that from behind, people will, there will be a split. People will split in half. Imam Sajjad will walk to the front. And they will say, Haza Zainul Abidin. This is Zainul Abidin. And the beauty is, Imam Zainul Abidin, in one, he is both Sayyidul Sajjad and Zainul Abidin together. You can be Zainul Abidin as the beauty of the worshippers. And you can have someone who is known as Sayyidul Sajjad, someone who is known for his sujood. But Imam Zainul Abidin is two in one. He is both. He is Zainul Abidin and he is Sayyidul Sajidin. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Inshallah, you're not getting bored. I won't keep you too long. And so Imam alayhi salatu wasalam at that moment will come forward. And look, this is the life of the Imam after Karbala. What does he do? He doesn't get involved. His head is either in sajda, he's either standing in qiyam, he's either in ruku, or his du'as. Now du'as are so important. Many Sunni brothers have recited the du'as of Imam Sajjad and become Shia. They say, we've never seen ma'rifat of Allah like this. Azan Muhtaram, what is dua? Dua kya hai? Bhai dua hai talab. Dua is a desire, want, talab. इंसान अपने हाथों को बुलंद करता है, अपने परवरदिगार से किसी चीज को मांगता है, तलब करता है. From our point of view, dua is talab, asking, want, desire. But really and truly what the Imam has given us, Imam की दुआएं दर से मारिफत हैं. अगर तवज्जो हो आपकी, इमाम की दुआएं दर से मारिफत हैं. इंसान अगर जुमलों पे गौर करे कि मौला फरमा क्या रहे हैं, या अस्मा अस्सामीन, या अकरम अल अकरमीन, या सरी अर रिदा, या नूर या कुद्दूस, you will not find anyone who calls Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by these names other than Ma'sumeen alayhimus salatu wassalam, other than Ahlul Bayt. When we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some people ask the question, should we raise our hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and speak to Him from our heart? Or should we open the book, Dua Kumail, Dua Tawassul, Dua Ahad, any dua, Dua Mashlul, and read the book? The answer is both. But what's more important is that we read the du'as of Ahlul Bayt. Because when we call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we call Him based on our understanding of Him. But when we read Dua Kumail, we call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on Ali's understanding of Allah. ये बहुत दकीक जुमला है. हम जब अल्लाह को पुकारते हैं तो अपनी नाकिस मारिफत की बिना पे पुकारते हैं, लेकिन जब आले मोहम्मद की दुआएं पढ़ते हैं तो वो मारिफत जो आले मोहम्मद ने सिखाई है, जिस मारिफत पे वो फाइज थे, उस मारिफत के मुताबिक अल्लाह को पुकारते हैं. इसीलिए दुआओं, बाद लोग कहते हैं कि दुआओं की सनद को भी देखना चाहिए, उलमा कहते हैं दुआ की सनद की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, आप कलाम से पहचान लेंगे कि ये कलाम मासूम है। अगर तवज्जो हो आपकी, कलाम से ज़ियारत, same thing with ज़ियारत, ज़ियारत अरबाइन is coming when we recite ज़ियारत अरबाइन. Some people say what is the authenticity of ज़ियारत अरबाइन? It's authentic, by the way. About Ayatollah, all of our ulama, I was just reading today, Ayatollah Wahid was asked what is the authenticity of ज़ियारत अरबाइन. He says 100% authentic. Same thing with all of the other ulama. But even let's say we didn't even have some of the ज़ियारत, even if we didn't have the change of narrations, the words that are used speak for themselves. The fasahad, the balaghat, the eloquence, the beauty. The way Ahlul Bayt spoke, and you look at how some of the other people spoke. The kalam of Ahlul Bayt is higher than that. And this is why Nahjul Balagha, after the Holy Quran, if you want to see fasahat and balaghat, you see Nahjul Balagha. That's why they say the kalam of Nahjul Balagha after the Holy Quran is Imamul Kalam. कुरान के मातहत है, कुरान के बाद में है, लेकिन तमाम कलाम बशर से बालातर है। अज़ान मोहतरम, Imam अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम taught us philosophy of ibadah, of dua. Last point before I come to Masaib. You know what the Imam teaches us? That dua is not just sometimes when I need something, I come and I make dua. Dua is a worship. Even if I don't need anything, I should still make dua. This is important. Even if I don't need anything, you know, otherwise if you have it all in life, you've got money, you've got business, you've got everything, then you would never make dua. And only the needy would make dua. Reality is, dua is a worship, like prayer. Everyone prays, rich or poor. Anywhere lives anywhere in the world. Anyone who's baligh must pray. Dua is the same. What is philosophy of dua? You know, when you raise your hands in dua, you do this. This is dua. You don't do this. You do this. You know what the philosophy is? By doing this, you're telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I am the taker, you are the giver. परवरदिगारा, मैं खैरात लेने वाला हूँ, तू खैरात देने वाला है. I am the one who gives. I am the one who takes. You are the one who gives. You are the giver. This is the philosophy of dua. That forever I realize that I am dependent on Him. And He is always independent of everything and anyone. This is the philosophy of dua. Dua has a zahir, it has a batin. Imam Sajjad, what is the Imam trying to say? The Imam says that dua is not that when I need something, I open the prayer mat, I come to the mosque, I hold the tasbih, I put on a hat and I start praying. And as soon as I get it, I pack up and I leave. Dua is that I submit to Allah. Same thing with prayer. Sometimes you don't feel like praying. Fajr especially. Fajr is hard. Yes, it is hard. So sometimes you don't feel like praying. Or rather, it's more enjoyable, especially in the cold winter nights. And I know Canada gets really cold. We get -2 and we're freezing, you know. I've heard it's -20 here. SubhanAllah. But the reality is, namaz is not about enjoyment. Namaz is about submission. परवरदिगारा, तेरे हुक्म के आगे सर तस्लीम खम करता हूँ. Oh my Lord, I bow my head in front of you. You know, once in one of the cities of Iran, maybe in a haram or in a mosque, a young man came running into the mosque to pray. And there was a Maulana sitting by, he was watching. He came in and, he did wudu very quickly. Took water and he did wudu very fast. Like, it wasn't even wudu properly on his face and done. He came and he stood on the prayer mat and he prayed very fast. There was no structure, no form to the prayer. Within a few seconds he was done and he was running out of the mosque. And he was running out. This Maulana, he grabbed him. He says, young man, were you praying or were you playing? What is this? You didn't even stand 2 seconds. How did you recite Surah Fatiha? You didn't even spend a few seconds in ruku. How did you recite the dhikr? What kind of namaz is this? You know what he says to him? And the young man gave him a good reply. He says, Maulana, I didn't come to pray. I came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I came here to tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I submit to His authority. He said, I didn't come to pray. He said, you pray. I came to tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I am a sinner, but I accept your authority. And this is the soul of prayer. You can have the most beautiful prayer. Long prayer, mashallah, very long Surah Fatiha, a 2-unit prayer. You can pray it in 20 minutes if you want. But if I don't have the soul of the prayer, that 20 minutes is of no use. His 2 seconds of namaz was better. Not about time. It's about the soul of the prayer. Attention, attentiveness. That's why when they said to Imam Zain al-Abidin, oh Zain al-Abidin, we've never seen anyone worship like you. You know what Imam Zain al-Abidin says? If you're impressed by my worship, if only you had seen the worship of my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allahumma salli ala. अगर मेरी इबादत पे तुम्हें ताज्जुब होता है अगर तुमने अली की इबादत को देखा होता, किस अंदाज में मेरे दादा अली ने इबादत की. आप जानते हैं ना, जब मेरे मौला अली को एक जंग में पाँव में तीर लग गया था, तो जब निकालना चाहा तो मौला को तकलीफ हुई, तो कहा इंतज़ार करो अली मुसल्ला इबादत पे आ जाएं. जैसे अली मुसल्ला इबादत पे आए, तीर को खींचा गया, मेरे मौला को खबर तक ना हुई. जानते हैं क्यों? क्योंकि मौला जब फर्श पे नमाज पढ़ा करते थे तो अर्श पे पहुंच जाते थे. अली यहाँ नहीं वहां होते थे. फरमाया अगर तुमने मेरे दादा अली की इबादत को देखा होता, हद तो यह है मेरे मौला अली की एक ज़रबत जंगे खंदक में अफजल मिन इबादत थक़लैन, जिन और इंस की इबादत से अफजल है. अली वो कि जिसकी एक ज़रब राह खुदा में जिन और इंस की इबादत से अफजल है. आदम से लेके क़यामत तक जो इबादत गुजार बंदा है, चाहे बंदा हो या जिन हो, उसकी इबादत एक तरफ, अली की एक ज़रब एक तरफ. इसलिए तो कहा अली इमामुल जिन्न वल इंस हैं. अली इब्न अबी तालिब, his worship is great, his worship is greater than all of worship. His one strike in the battle of Khandaq is greater than the ibadat of Thaqalain. Time is up. I won't keep you too long. Imam Sajjad, when he returns from Karbala to Madina, some say 30 years, some say 35 years, the Holy Imam cries. Someone asked the Holy Imam, Mawla, what was the most difficult time for you? Do you know what they say? The Imam replies, Ash-Sham. 3 times. Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. The most difficult time for me was Bazar-e-Sham. Ajrakum ala Allah. And even more difficult for Imam Sajjad was, you know what? When he had to bury his own sister Sakina in the Zindan of Sham. Ajrakum ala Allah. How difficult it was for Imam Sajjad to leave behind a sister, Bibi Sakina, who would always ask, oh brother Sajjad, when will we go home? Oh brother Sajjad, when will we be able to visit the grave of Rasulullah? Oh brother Sajjad, do prisoners never get released? Oh brother Sajjad, when will I see my father? Where is my father? Bibi Zainab would say, your father is gone on a travel, he will come. But this small young child, this daughter, she says, no, but I want my father. You know, this Bibi Sakina had not slept since Sham-e-Ghariban. You know why? Because she could only sleep on the chest of Aba Abdullah. She had not been able to sleep since Sham-e-Ghariban. The last time she slept on the chest of her father, do you know when that was? When Imam Hussain came from Al-Wida, Bibi Sakina came and hugged her father. She puts her head on the chest of Aba Abdullah. She sleeps. Imam Hussain sits there. This was the last time Bibi Sakina slept on the chest of Aba Abdullah. After that, when Sham-e-Ghariba came, Bibi Sakina enters the Maqtal of Karbala. She says, "Oh Father Hussain, where are you? Call your orphan daughter Sakina." When Bibi Sakina comes into the Maidan of Karbala, what does she see? She hears a cry coming from a headless body. "Ilayya, Ilayya ya bunayya." "Oh Sakina, my child, come to your father." What does she see? She sees there is a headless body. She comes close. She sees it's her father, Aba Abdullah. But where does she put her head? There are so many arrows in the chest of Aba Abdullah. How does a daughter sleep on a chest that has been pounded under the hooves of the horses? Do you know what she does? When she finds no place to put her head, she puts her head on the feet of Aba Abdullah. And she sleeps there. When Bibi Zainab comes, she finds Bibi Sakina. She takes her back into the tents. She takes her back into the khayma. I leave you with this. Ajrakum ala Allah. One night in the Zindan Sham. آپ جانتے ہیں نا 1 سال اہل حرم کو قیدی رکھا گیا. بھائی میرے مولا سے جب منہال نے پوچھا نا، مولا مدینے میں، مولا کیا وجہ ہے؟ آپ کے سر کے بال سفید ہو گئے ہیں، آپ کی داڑھی کے بال سفید ہو گئے ہیں، اتنی جوانی میں آپ بوڑھے ہو گئے ہیں. جانتے ہیں میرے مولا نے کیا کہا؟ رو کے میرے مولا نے کہا، جانتے ہو منہال کس چیز نے مجھے بوڑھا کر دیا؟ وہ زندان شام تھا. ہاں وہ عجیب رات تھی. ایک رات سکینہ سوتے سوتے بیدار ہو گئی. کہنے لگی میرے بابا حسین کہاں ہیں؟ ابھی تو میرے بابا یہاں تھے. ابھی تو میرے بابا کہہ رہے تھے سکینہ میں تجھے لینے آیا ہوں. سکینہ اب کوئی تماچے نہیں مارے گا، سکینہ اب کوئی بالوں سے نہیں پکڑے گا. بس میرے مولا سجاد نے کہا اس رات نے مجھے بوڑھا کر دیا. جانتے ہیں کیوں؟ بی بی سکینہ کبھی ایک کونے میں جاتی ہیں، کبھی ایک کونے میں جاتی ہیں، کبھی بی بی سکینہ کو بی بی جناب زینب آغوش میں لیتی ہیں، کبھی جناب رباب آغوش میں لیتی ہیں، کبھی جناب سید سجاد آغوش میں لیتے ہیں. لیکن بچی کو چین نہیں ہے، بچی کو قرار نہیں ہے. جب آواز قصر یزید تک گئی تو یزید نے کہا بچی کو کیا چاہیے؟ تو کہا کہ بچی کو اپنے بابا سے ملنا ہے. جانتے ہیں یزید خبیث نے کیا کہا؟ کہا وہ نوک نیزہ سے حسین کا سر اتارو اور جاؤ بچی کو دے دو. ہائے کسی یتیم بچی پہ یہ وقت نہ آئے. اجرکم علی اللہ. بس میرا مولا حسین کا سر لایا گیا، بچی کی آغوش میں پھینکا گیا. اب آپ دیکھیے یتیم بچی ہے، معصوم بچی ہے، اپنے بابا کے سر کو خونی دیکھا، اپنے منہ کو حسین کے منہ پہ رکھ کے ایک جملہ کہا، بابا جان یہ رگیں کس نے کاٹی ہیں؟ بابا جان یہ کس نے آپ کی پیشانی پہ پتھر مارا ہے؟ بابا جان یہ مجھے یتیم کس نے کر دیا؟ جب بہت عرصے کے بعد بابا کو اپنی آغوش میں لیا تھا، کیا کہا ہوگا کیا کہا ہوگا سکینہ نے؟ ہائے بابا ظالم نے مجھے تھپڑ مارے، ہائے بابا ظالم نے تازیانے مارے. بابا جو محبت سے آپ نے گوشوارے پہنائے تھے، ظالم نے وہ گوشوارے بھی چھین لیے. ہائے میرے بالوں میں ہاتھ ڈالا. الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون. پروردگارا تجھے واسطہ ہے بی بی سکینہ کی یتیمی کا، پروردگارا تجھے واسطہ ہے حسین مظلوم کا. ہمارے آنسوؤں کو قبول و مقبول فرما، ان آنسوؤں کو قیامت کے دن سامان شفاعت قرار دے. پروردگارہ سیدہ کو ہم سے راضی و خوشنود فرما، پروردگارہ ان آنسوؤں کو سیدہ کے رومال میں محفوظ فرما، جو بیمار ہیں اس کمیونٹی میں پروردگارہ انہیں شفائے عاجلہ کاملہ عطا فرما، جو مومنین مومنات تشریف فرما ہے ان کی مرحومین کی مغفرت فرما، مومنین کی دعاؤں کو قبول فرما، جو یہاں پہ محنت کر رہے ہیں کوشش کر رہے ہیں پروردگارہ، جو بانیان ہیں پروردگارہ ان کی توفیقات خیر میں اضافہ فرما، کوئی غم نہ دے سوائے غم حسین کے، سوائے غم سکینہ کے پروردگارہ، تجھے اس بچی کا واسطہ کہ جب جناب زینب چلی ہے نا زندان شام سے، ایک جملہ کہا جناب زینب نے، شام کی خواتین کو جمع کر کے کہا، اے شام کی عورتوں میں جا رہی ہوں، میں دمشق چھوڑ کے جا رہی ہوں، لیکن زینب کی ایک وصیت ہے، ہفتے میں ایک بار اس ننھی سی قبر پہ آنا اور کچھ پانی چھڑک دینا، یہ بچی بہت پیاسی تھی، تجھے واسطہ ہے پروردگارہ اس پیاسی بچی کا جس پہ کسی کو رحم نہ آیا، جو پانی مانگتی رہی لیکن کسی نے پانی نہ دیا، ہائے وہ حسین کی علامت تھی، تجھے سکینہ کا واسطہ ہمیں سکینہ کی زیارت نصیب فرما، ہمیں سکینہ کی شفاعت نصیب فرما، ہمیں کربلا کی زیارت نصیب فرما، اربعین قریب ہے ہمیں مولا حسین کا زائر بنا دے، پروردگارہ تجھے واسطہ ہے ہمارے گناہان کبیرہ و صغیرہ معاف فرما، مولا کو ہم سے راضی و خوشنود فرما، 12ویں امام کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما، ہمارے مولا ہمارے آقا کو ہم سے راضی و خوشنود فرما، ماتم حسین۔